Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'll be drawing 4 of my viewers' original characters. I posted on my community tab asking you all if you wanted me to draw your OCs or draw your gacha characters. I didn't know which one to do because I do see some of you asking me to draw your gacha characters, but there's also a lot of you that ask me to draw your OCs. So I let you all vote, and original characters won by a lot, so that's what I'll be doing. But this time things are going to be a little different. Recently in the I Draw Your OC videos, I pick which OCs I draw. I kind of just pick whichever one inspires me in the moment or that I think is neat. However, this time around I'm going to have no say in which OC I draw because I'm going to use a wheel to pick the original characters. To pick the characters, I'm going to be using 2 wheels. The first wheel chooses where the OC is picked from. There are multiple ways to enter your OC, like email, Twitter hashtag, Instagram direct message. So yeah, this will pick where the OC is from. And the second wheel gives me a number, and whatever number I get, I will count and see which OC is that number. So let's see whose OC I'll be drawing first. And email 255 had this OC. She was submitted by Zara and her name is Grace. They only told me her name, so I don't have much to go off of, but that's okay. So as you see, I'm currently doing my cleanup sketch. For all of these, I'm going to be skipping my rough sketch because I'm trying to squeeze 4 illustrations into one video. And you might be thinking, Becca, you usually only do 2 illustrations in a video. How did you have time to do 4? Well, you see, I'm going to be keeping these all fairly simple and also kind of sketchy. I'm not going to clean them up and refine them a ton, so I won't be doing line art and I won't be going into detail, and I'll keep my coloring a little bit more simple and things will be kind of messy. So yeah, I'm not going into the usual amount of work that I usually do. I filmed this video over 4 days. My goal was to finish 1 illustration a day and also finish it within 1 drawing session. A drawing session for me is usually 1 or 2.5 hours. Sometimes I do go to 3 hours, but by then I'm kind of running on fumes. So I rarely draw for that long at a time. So yeah, my goal was to get each picture done in around 2 hours. So like I mentioned, Zara only told me that this character's name is Grace and sent me this picture. So I didn't have much to go on when thinking of how I wanted to draw Grace. She has a bag, so I decided to draw her in a pose where she's grabbing it with her one hand. That's kind of the only pose I could think of. I also decided to have her hair kind of whooshing in the wind, or maybe it's whooshing because she's walking, to kind of add some movement and help things feel a little more exciting. Oh, also we will be skipping me filling in the base colors for all of the drawings because it is boring and a bit tedious. Because I am coloring sketches, filling in the base colors takes a bit longer because I can't just use the paint bucket tool like I can with line art. I have to fill it all in manually. The picture that Zara sent to me kind of had a watercolor-ish texture to it. So for my shading and coloring, I wanted to do something similar. Instead of using the airbrush or G-pen like I usually do, I'm using the Running Edge watercolor brush. Like the name suggests, it has a watercolor textured edge to it. So I thought it would give me the texture I want for the shading. One mistake I did kind of make is that I never took a break while drawing this picture. I know I said I wanted to finish the pictures within 1 drawing session, but a lot of times when I'm working on an illustration, I'll take a break so that when I come back later, I can see mistakes or things that I don't quite like or that don't look right. When drawing, it's like I kind of become blind to things that are wonky or a bit off. Flipping the canvas does help me notice these things, but sometimes I only notice things after I take a break and come back. And like I said, I never did that with this picture. Overall, I think it looks okay. It's just once I finished the picture and came back, I noticed the head was pretty large. And I do draw heads kind of big, but this was a bit bigger than I wanted. I was able to edit things a bit off camera. I used the selection tool and liquify tool to help things be a little bit more in proportion. It's not a huge difference, but like I can tell the difference. Oh, also to make the background a bit more interesting, I made a rectangle behind her and filled it with a forest background from the asset library. Her color scheme kept making me think of a forest, so that's why I chose that. I don't know if she has anything to actually do with forests. Anyways, here's my picture of Grace. I hope you like it, Zara, and thank you so much for letting me draw her. So let's see what the wheel picks now. For where I'm picking from, we got email again. So the character I'll be drawing is Navia. She was submitted by Raku. Navia is 20 years old. She's the princess of the kingdom Majestia. Raku went in depth about Navia's story, and it's very sad. Basically, her kingdom is at war with another kingdom, and Navia fell in love with a knight, and he loved her as well. But then the bad kingdom won, and she lost her love. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Raku also mentioned that Navia likes to take walks at night. So for my picture of Navia, I'm drawing her taking a walk at night, and she's kind of looking up sadly at the sky because I imagine she's very sad. And her hair and cloak are blowing in the wind. I really liked drawing her cloak. I don't draw them very often, but they're a lot of fun to work with, and I kind of want to draw more of them. Also, some of you have been asking when my next sketchbook tour will be. It's been a little over a year since my last one, so I can understand why you are curious. I am getting very close to finishing my sketchbook. I have about 10 pages left, and because I am getting close to the end, I've been a bit more motivated to draw in my sketchbook because I want to finish it. So I'm hoping I'll be able to post a sketchbook tour maybe later this month or early next month. I can't remember the last time a sketchbook took me this long to finish. Not that it really matters how long it takes, but like this one has taken me so long. So yeah, I'm hoping I'll be able to post a sketchbook tour sometime soon. So now I am coloring. Because it is night, I apply a dark blue set to multiply all over Navia to make her colors darker. I decided to get the background in place first. It's pretty simple. I just added some bushes with a leafy brush. I liked making the bushes and using the different colors to form the bush. I really liked adding the leaves that were acting as highlights. For the sky, I added some gradients to it and then used my random dot brush to add stars to the sky. I added a variety of sizes. I always really like making night skies. For the shading of the cloak, I kind of just dashed in some shadows that flow in the direction of the fabric and then blended them out with the blending tool. Also, I did add highlights later to add more form to the cloak. Like I said at the start, these illustrations are going to be a bit more sketchy and not as finished, but I had a lot of fun rendering this one and rendered it a bit more than I was planning to. However, I did stay within my time goal. Because Navia is in front view and her pose is simple, the sketching process only took me like 25 minutes, so I had a lot of time left for the coloring. Because she is in moonlight, I'm using a lot of blues and whites for the shading. This makes things feel a lot cooler compared to warm lighting, where I use a lot more reds, purples, and yellows. I hope you all don't mind that I chose more OCs, but I'm doing more simple illustrations. In my last I Draw Your OC video, I did 3 chibi illustrations and 1 finished illustration, and a lot of you did like that format because more OCs were able to be featured. So I thought this time around people may like this format, because as you saw there were a lot of submissions. So it is fun if more characters are able to be featured. Plus things did feel a bit lower pressure for me because like when I'm doing only 2 illustrations, I feel like I need to make them be really good, or like, I don't know how to word it, but because there are 4 illustrations in this video, if there's one I don't personally like as much, it doesn't feel like a very big deal, I guess, because there's a lot of illustrations. But overall, I think I'm pleased with how all the pictures turned out. And speaking of how pictures turned out, here's my picture of Navia. I really like her design, and like I said, I really liked drawing her cloak. Also, sorry I forgot the little details on the cloak, I forgot to add the little designs. So sorry about that. But I hope you like it, Raku. Shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Do you have a specific skill you're trying to learn? Well, Skillshare is the perfect place to start. From photography and illustration to graphic design, freelancing, and more, you can find classes that will match your goals and interests. If I want to level up my skills or learn something new for my work, Skillshare is where I go to. I also really like the classes on self-care and relaxation. Recently, my sketchbook has been getting neglected, so I've been taking the class The Busy Creative, 3 quick and easy drawing exercises to spark creativity by Amanda and Thomas. In this class, you'll discover 3 ways to get your daily dose of creativity. And I've been having a lot of fun with this class, and it is helping me find quick ways to fill my sketchbook and be creative. I really like Amandine's advice. She said perfect is the enemy of good. So because we want to make something that is perfect, we miss out on making anything at all. This really resonated with me, and I found the exercises she shared to be very fun and freeing. I've been having so much fun filling my sketchbook pages and naming the little doodles. Skillshare is ad-free, so you can stay in the zone while you're exploring new skills. It has new premium classes launched each week, so there's always something new to discover. And their entire catalog is now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. The first 1,000 people to use the link, or my code, LOVETODRAWMANGA, will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So go join Skillshare today. And thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So let's see what the wheel has for me now. And the character we got is Adira. She was submitted by Dreamer77728. Adira is extroverted and likes to help others. She is bad at math and her parents own a bakery. So in Adira's picture, she's holding a trumpet. My sister Reagan was sitting next to me and said something like, "Oh, she has a trumpet." And I was like, I am not drawing a trumpet. That's too complicated. But as you see, I drew her holding a trumpet. I just couldn't think of a different pose, so I went for it. But I did keep the trumpet simple. I didn't add all of the details. So trumpet players, please don't be annoyed with me. As long as people can tell it's a trumpet, I'm okay with it. I wasn't trying to add all of the little details because there are a lot of little details. So I thought the trumpet would be the part to give me the most trouble, but it wasn't. For some reason, Adira's hair and face were giving me way more issues. It doesn't really come through in the footage because of how sped up it is. But yeah, I was struggling with this one and was about to scrap it altogether. But instead of doing that, I just decided to redraw her face. And I did like the second face more, or at least I didn't hate it, so I kept going. I kind of just kept pushing forward, hoping I would like things eventually. I thought maybe I would start to like it more if I colored it, because sometimes I can't tell what's wrong or what I don't like until I add color. And for the coloring and shading, I didn't really have any inspiration or great ideas, so I kind of just added cell shading. And at this point, I kind of felt like I was polishing a turd. Not that the character looks like a turd, she's very cute and adorable. It's just like I felt like my drawing of her wasn't cute and adorable, or it wasn't quite what I wanted. It's not like it's that bad, it's just on this third day I was kind of in a mood and I didn't have much patience and I was irritated that things weren't going how I wanted with the picture. I didn't know what I wanted for the picture, but I felt like this isn't what I wanted. But then things took an unexpected turn. So at this point I had the thought that maybe if I add in a background, that would help things feel more interesting. So I started to drag in different backgrounds and playing around with their placement. I eventually dragged in this hallway background filled with windows, and this one sparked my interest. I thought it'd be cool to have the windows be letting in really bright light and have there be some light rays coming in. I also decided to have Adira be in shadow and have rim light around her on the side with the windows. And this is when I finally started to like the picture. Adding the background and the lighting really made things come together. So I took a little bit of time adding in some extra highlights and a little bit more shading to kind of make her fit in with this new lighting situation. So here is my picture of Adira. It had a rough start, but I am happy with how it turned out in the end. Thank you so much, Dreamer, for letting me draw her. She's really adorable. So let's see who the wheel picks last. This character was submitted by Unicorn Lover Sena, and this is their character Tabitha. Tabitha is 14 years old, and she is half human and half monster. Tabitha's design is very unique and interesting, so I was quite excited and a little nervous to draw her. I was most nervous about her horns. I've never really drawn horns placed on a head like this. In the pictures, the horns are kind of just placed kind of on top of the hair. But because of where they are placed on the head, the hair would be flowing around them and we would be able to see her forehead. So I was trying to draw the hair in a kind of way that makes sense with the horns. Tabitha is 14, so I tried to draw her looking a bit younger. Also in the picture, she doesn't really have a nose, and I don't know if that's a stylistic choice or if she just doesn't have a nose. So I only gave her a tiny nose instead of my more defined nose that I often draw. I can never fully decide if I like the way I draw noses. Like for the most part I do. I like being able to define the nose and draw it at different angles. But at the same time I do find the simple dot nose quite cute, especially on girl characters. But then it's a bit bothersome to draw when you're drawing in different views, like underneath or above, and you can't quite show the shape of the little dot nose. So that's why I often draw the full nose. But I do think the little nose is cute. So yeah, I don't know. I do like the dot nose, but I'll probably stick with how I usually draw noses. For Tabitha's pose, I decided to draw her shoulders raised and kind of going inwards. I don't know, I kind of just randomly decided on this pose. It felt kind of interesting, I suppose. I suppose. Also, I almost forgot to add her wings. Thankfully, I do remember, and we will see the wing in a moment once the base colors are filled in. Because of the view, I only drew one wing. I kept trying to add the second one, but it didn't quite make sense because of how she's turned. So the second wing is somewhere behind her body where we can't see it. So for the coloring, I kind of just applied the saying I sometimes say to myself, and that is, when in doubt, rim lighting. Rim lighting is always pretty, so I just decided to go with that. I am really happy I decided to have the wheels pick the characters. The first reason is that it did make things simpler for me. I sometimes spend hours trying to decide which characters I want to draw. The second reason is that it did encourage me to draw characters that I don't think I would have normally chosen. I do really like all of the characters that got picked. I think they're all really neat, but I don't know if I would have chosen to draw them if it was just up to me. So I think I'll be using the wheel again in the future because I do think it made things really fun. I am a little sad we didn't get any boy characters. Boys are submitted less often, so there's a lesser chance of me getting them. However, this did allow me to work on drawing girls. I have a tendency to draw more boys than girls, at least when it comes to personal art. So sometimes I can feel a little bit rusty when drawing girls. To make the background feel more magical, I added some flower petals blowing in the wind. I made them varying in sizes and color. The tiny ones are lighter and they get darker as they get bigger. This helps the little ones feel like they are further away from us. Something I almost forgot to add was her scales. I found the scale pattern on the asset library. I applied it to my picture and erased it where I didn't want it. On Adira, I only had the scales be visible in some spots. I didn't want the pattern to be too busy or draw too much attention, so I only have it visible in some areas. I also added little highlights to some of the scales to make them kind of stand out a little bit and make them feel a little bit more scaly. And here's my picture of Tabitha. I had so much fun drawing her and her different details. Thanks for submitting her, Unicorn Lover Senya. And here are the other pictures I drew. I really enjoyed getting to draw all of them. And thank you so much to everyone that submitted their characters. Before we end, I want to thank my super wonderful patrons for supporting my work and what I do. It means so much to me. If you are interested in behind the scenes content or monthly mail sent from me to you, consider checking out my Patreon. Also, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!